The room went quiet in a way that had weight to it. Paper tore, laughter rose, names were called. Even the maid got a box with a bow. Mine never came. I felt it before I saw it. The pause, the glance, the small cruelty dressed as a mistake. My daughter-in-law smiled without her eyes and said, "Oh, yours must have been misplaced in transit." They waited. My son watched my face like a thermometer, measuring how much heat he could provoke. I didn't give them any. I nodded once. "All right." That word ended the night for me. They didn't know it yet. I raised that boy alone after his father died. I paid off the house early, worked 2 jobs, learned how to cook meals that stretched. I taught him how to look people in the eye and keep his word. When he married her, I welcomed her. I gave them space. I gave them money when they needed it. I signed papers I didn't need to read because I trusted the hands passing them to me. Trust is expensive. I paid in full. Christmas dinner was held in the house I bought, though it hadn't felt like mine for a while. The furniture had shifted. My photographs were replaced. My voice slowly edited out. I told myself this was normal. Children grow up. Parents recede. That's the story we tell ourselves so we can sleep. But sleep had been thin for months. The red flags were quiet things, mail arriving already opened, a bank alert I didn't recognize, my son finishing my sentences, answering for me. The way his wife spoke about streamlining my affairs as if I were a loose cable behind a desk. I noticed how often they talked about the future without using my name. I noticed how often they used my signature. I didn't confront them. I watched. I let them get comfortable. Comfort makes people sloppy. The discovery came without drama. A manila envelope slid across a desk. A lawyer with kind eyes spoke carefully like he was handling glass. Power of attorney, property transfer, accounts consolidated. My house, listed as collateral for a business I'd never heard of. My name was everywhere. My consent was nowhere. I didn't cry. Something colder happened. A quiet recalibration. Hurt folded into focus. Love hardened into resolve. They thought I was old. They confused patience with weakness. They forgot who taught my son to play the long game. I left the office and bought a new notebook. 4 days is a long time if you use it well. I requested copies. I pulled statements. I tracked dates and handwriting. I found the seam where a document had been altered, the timestamp that didn't line up. I called my bank and froze what could be frozen. I moved what I could move. I changed passwords. I recorded calls and let them talk. Silence is a weapon when you know where to aim it. I didn't go home. I stayed with a friend. I let the house breathe without me so they could make their next mistake. They did. 4 days later, fists hammered my door like guilt had learned to knock. My phone lit up with messages that finally used my name. Urgent, please, there's a problem. They were crying before I opened it. My son looked smaller than I remembered. His wife couldn't meet my eyes. They talked over each other. Accounts locked. A loan called in. A notice taped to the door of a place that had never been theirs to risk. They said my name like it was a key they'd misplaced. I let the silence do the talking. Then I stepped aside and let them in. We sat at the table where I used to cut birthday cakes. I slid my notebook across the wood. I spoke softly. I told them what I knew. I told them what I'd done. I told them what was already filed and what would be filed next if they raised their voices or tried to leave. My son stared at the pages like they were written in another language. His wife tried to bargain. Then she tried to blame. Then she went quiet. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult them. I simply removed their leverage, piece by piece. The house was back in my name. The accounts were mine. The power of attorney was revoked with a signature that was actually mine this time. They asked for forgiveness. I gave them consequences. The final turn was clean, a choice presented without cruelty. They could unwind what they'd tangled and walk away with dignity intact, or I could let the truth finish its work in public. I watched my son choose, and I felt the ache of loving someone who had disappointed me, and the relief of no longer protecting them from themselves. They left before dusk. The house felt larger after. That night I wrapped a small box and placed it under the tree. Inside was a key, my key, polished and heavy. I poured a drink and sat alone in the quiet. No applause, no victory speech, just the steady hum of things returning to their proper places. Justice doesn't always arrive loud. Sometimes it knocks softly 4 days early and waits for you to open the door. They wanted a reaction at Christmas. I gave them a reckoning instead.